Welcome, welcome, welcome. As I like to say every week, I'm still Dr. Arnold Nerenberg. I'm licensed to practice clinical psychology in the state of California since 1974, and I'm licensed to walk upon this earth since 1941, 83 years of age. It's truly my pleasure, my privilege, and my enjoyment to be here with you and have the opportunity to give you my lessons that I've learned, my insights and inspirations of a lifetime, with the intention of uplifting you and your loved ones for the rest of your lives. That is my intention. That's my intention. The title of today's presentation is, I Felt Humiliated and Dealt with It Honorably. I felt humiliated and dealt with it honorably. Now, when I talk about it, this is going to be me talking about how I've been recently humiliated in a friendship of 50 years, a 50-year friendship, felt humiliated, put down, condescended to, and dealt with it honorably. So I'm very proud of my achievement. And I'm going to tell you about this because I know you've been humiliated in your life, and you will be humiliated again. You'll be put down again, humiliated, talked down to, condescended to. It's going to happen to you, as it just recently happened with me. And I not only talk the talk, but I walk the walk on this. I'm very proud of how I dealt with it. So I'm going to, I had the permission of Tommy, who's my friend. I changed his name, so gave me permission to share as long as I changed his name. He gave me permission to share my text and his text that really occurred last Saturday, just this last Saturday. So it's really recent. Now, Tommy, let me just say this. He's an honorable man. He's a good guy, very likable, intelligent, intellectually deep. Emotionally, I don't know how deep he is. There's some issues there with him. But he's a well-intentioned person. So when I felt humiliated by him a number of times, maybe 5 or 6 times over the last year and a half, we talk every week. Every week we talk. And so maybe every 3 or 4 months, he'll say something where I feel really put down by him. First couple of times he did it, I didn't say anything. Then after that, I started saying, hey, I'm feeling humiliated. I'm feeling put down by this. And I know he didn't mean it. It's not intentional on his part, but that is the effect. And even though I've shared with him my vulnerability in my life, Tommy never shares his vulnerability. He's always smiling. Whenever you talk to Tommy, he's always smiling. In fact, I remember years ago, maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago, he says, yeah. I said, I'm going through a divorce. My wife was always angry at me, and I'm getting divorced, and I'm leaving her. And all the time I knew him, he never mentioned anything about anything going on. He always seemed happy and chipper. And now I found he was so stressed out he's getting divorced. So he never really shared his vulnerability. So the way this thing was happening with Tommy and me, he's always smiling, smile, hit me with something, put me down, and then go back to smiling again. So you go, wow, boom. You feel almost petty to even bring up, hey, I felt humiliated by you, put down, we need to stop and let's talk about that. And one thing you're going to see as you see how I phrased it for him, when people get angry or distant, it's because they're covering vulnerability. They feel hurt, humiliated, neglected, abandoned, inferior, jealous. There's some kind of feeling of that sort. Well, what you're going to see is I don't cover it up at all, my humiliation. Not at all. There's no cover up. And I want you to see the example is because you cover it up all the time. I really work at not doing that and sharing the vulnerability and staying with that. And I should say, after I addressed this, I did feel tremendous relief after I'm going to read to you the text I sent to him. I feel great afterwards. So I carried that stress of that feeling humiliation for about 6 days. So you pay a price, because if I would have lashed out to him with anger, I probably would have felt better right away. But I didn't do that. I didn't put that load on him. What did I do? I protected him from myself. I didn't strike back. I didn't lash out at him. I protected him against my own feeling. This is the way of honor. I've talked to you about the way of honor, the 4 commandments of honor, the bridge, the laws of honor, the supremacy of honor code. Everything in my life led up to that. And I've been teaching that and living that for over 13, 14 years. Now, I'm going to read to you a text I sent to him. Keep in mind, we've been friends for 50 years. We talk every week. So I call this respectfully real communication. You've heard me refer to that before. It's a way of communicating that builds a bridge or a connection as opposed to a wall or a barrier. It's the way that disciples of honor communicate. That's the goal, is to have a respectful real communication. So, very proud of how I dealt with this, and I'm holding this out as an example for you to think about and consider. I consider myself, the way I dealt with this, as a good role model for you. But it takes a while before you can do what I did. I said, Tommy, I very much appreciate our friendship over 50 years, and I'm very grateful for our weekly exchange of thought. So I'm putting it in context. I'm not just going to talk to him about how I felt humiliated, how he was condescending to me. I felt demeaned. I didn't start with that. I'm starting up because I do appreciate. I don't lose when you have these communications. You want to see. You don't want to define the person or the relationship just by that problem. It's beyond that problem. Very much appreciate our friendship of over 50 years, and I'm very grateful for our weekly exchange of thought. I have felt that over the recent years, there were about 6 incidents of my feeling humiliated by your talking down to me in a disrespectful manner. I've told him how I appreciate him, how I appreciate our talks. I very much like our talks. Do respect and admire him. But there have been about 6 incidents. The first few times I didn't say anything. I did my best to work it out on my own. So the first few times, I just said, let's work this out. And I did work it out. When it continued from time to time, I started to tell you about it, including what happened last Sunday. I'm convinced that you are not doing it deliberately, nor do you mean any harm. He didn't do it deliberately. I know that. It is not your intention to humiliate me. Not at all. So I'm letting you know, I'm not saying you're a bad guy, you're evil. And I said to him, but that is the effect. I felt humiliated. That's the effect. Wasn't your intention, but that is the effect. So there I am, feeling humiliated, dealing with it in what I feel is a very honorable way. Sometimes it is the content of what you say, how you say it, and your tone of voice. So it could be what he says, and the tone of voice is a lot of it. I find it very disturbing and demeaning. It has nothing to do with making a mistake or not. Sometimes you might feel I made a mistake, and I'm okay with making mistakes. Not whether or not I just manifested my ignorance on the matter, because we discuss many things, and sometimes I'm wrong or I'm ignorant on the matter. For example, about computers and whatnot, he's much more involved and knowledgeable than I am about the digital world, and I would delegate a lot to my secretary. He used to put me down a lot for that, and I used to have to address that. You adopt a very superior, condescending tone. Unintentionally. You don't mean to get a condescending tone. You don't mean that. You can dismiss what I am saying as an overreaction to my own insecurities or my misperceiving what has been being communicated. So a lot of times people will do that. They say, well, you're overreacting, you're imagining it. They try to dismiss you that way. So I'm saying you might want to do that. That's your call. Or you can search yourself for what your true inner reality is during these incidents. So I'm giving him a chance to grow, giving him a chance to do the right thing. Doesn't mean he's going to do it. Most people, by the way, don't do the right thing. They don't do the honorable thing. They get defensive and strike back. If you do the latter with sincerity, you will find what I am talking about. I was wrong about that. He wasn't able to see what he did. I should add that what I have seen in you and accusing you of, I have been guilty of doing myself with others. Fortunately, I was able to see it and correct myself. So I'm setting up. I've done it. I'm not superior to you. I put other people down. I've talked down to them. But I did put a little challenge there. The challenge was, but I'm aware of it when I do it. The things, are you? Are you? That's a little bit of a challenge there. Turns out he's not. Fortunately, I was able to see it and correct myself. I honestly feel that after we have addressed this issue in the past, I've witnessed you making an effort in this area, especially in the area of my way of dealing with digital and computer issues. So I have seen him try to step around putting me down. I've seen that. So I'm letting him know a lot of good things, but still I'm letting him know I felt humiliated and I felt you're talking down to me. And I'm grateful for that. I wish the best outcome for you, my dear friend, in exploring your own consciousness on this issue and all other issues in your precious life. So I'm wishing him luck in searching his own psyche. So that was the letter sent to him. And I'll give you Tommy's response in a minute. Before I do that, when I sent that to him, I sent it to him Saturday. It was after 6 days, and I had to carry the heaviness in my heart. And one of my daughters said to me, I'm sorry you had to go through that. I said, no, I don't mind going through these things. It allows me to manifest honor and also allows me to be able to help other people going through it. So I don't mind going through this. So I said that to her. It's not a pleasant experience, but I'm not looking for pleasantness. I'm looking for honor in my life, to manifest honor. Discomfort, pain, the rest of it, I accept it and I embrace it. And I deal with it honorably. So I'm going to open up for conversation, questions now before I read his response. So it's, now very often your own contributions and statements and comments helps each other even more than what I say. So I'm going to open it up for any, just unmute yourself and whoever wants to make a comment or a question or any thoughts or feelings you had when I was saying this. I'm talking about this whole thing because I know this applies to you. I know you've been humiliated in your life. I know you will be humiliated again. I know you get people to put you down in your life, maybe at work, maybe in an intimate relationship. I know you go through that. And so I'm talking about this because I want to give you a real life example to hold in front of you as an example of dealing honorably and in a respectfully real manner.
Dr. Nerenberg.
Yes.
Okay, you can hear me. Good.
Please say your name, your first name.
Brian.
Brian.
Yes, sir. I'm curious. From my previous profession, I learned in conflict resolution, one thing that really always helped me was trying to examine what the other person was getting out of the interaction. Why was he coming at me like that? What did he gain from that? Did you, and maybe I'm kind of getting ahead of us here, but did you examine what your long-term friend was getting out of his behavior to you?
Well, I think he got to feel what to express. I think he has many people have an unconscious sense of superiority to others. And I think Tommy has that, not just towards me. I'm sure it manifests towards others, but I'm sure nobody's ever called him on it because he's a sweetheart. He's always smiling. It's hard to say, hey. So I'm sure it's coming to other people as well. But he feels superior. And what your true attitude manifests. So I'm not even sure he was getting anything out of it. I mean, I just think that I honestly believe he can't help it. I don't believe it's a payoff for him. Unless it within his own psyche, feeling superior makes him feel better about himself, maybe. But that would be a guess on my part. But I'm sure he doesn't know he's doing it. Strictly unconscious.
Could I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
Has there been an escalation? I mean,
No,
like,
no, it's not escalated. It's just been about every 3 months he comes across that way, unintentionally, not even knowing he's doing it, and he does that. And now the people, I'm presenting this to everybody here because I know you go through this, and a certain percentage of the time the people that you feel put down by and humiliated by don't know they're doing it, and they don't mean it. I, on the other hand, I've done it to people myself, put them down. And when I did it, I did it and I corrected it immediately. But not everybody has that self-honesty. See, I have the self-honesty to see it. But he thinks of himself as a guy above that. I know I'm a human being with all the frailties of any normal human being, except the only thing different about me is I deal honorably with everything. Almost all the time. I slip once in a while, but rarely. So his concept is, I'm above that. So you can't see it. I know I'm not above it because I know I've got my animal nature and my divine nature. I don't think he acknowledges that animal nature part of him that's competitive and has these other kind of other vulnerabilities. Doesn't fit who he tells himself that he is. So, you know, Tommy actually, I think, thinks he's above all that.
Thank you for allowing the question.
Oh, no, Brian, it's good questions. I'm really glad you asked. It's a very good question.
Yeah, I just asked because I've had an escalation of my own irritability and confrontational impulses just due to escalation of my symptoms.
Well,
and
you know,
I was wondering if he was symptomatic.
No, I'll tell you something, Brian. Number one, it's amazing that you could say that about yourself. 99% of men especially can't do that. You're amazing. Just that you notice you're doing it. And then, of course, you have to want to go beyond that so you're not taking it out on other people. You can, but you have to be repeating your 4 commandments of honor 3 times a day with the bridge. I wish you well. I take full responsibility for co-creating my reality and my problems. I'm grateful for the power I gain from hardship. And then 1 of 2 depends whether you believe on God or not. If you believe in God as I do, God, your wish is my only wish. But if you don't want to address God or don't believe, I seek always to serve my highest values. And then the bridge, what's the most honorable thing to think, say, and do? So you do that 3 times a day because the repetition is preparation for application. After you're doing that, even for a short period of time, you stop doing that stuff. Because you see you're doing it, and you go, what's the most honorable thing to think, say, and do? I honestly believe the way I dealt with him was the most honorable thing to do. No question in my mind. It would have been great if I could have just laughed it off. That's even greater. And sometimes I can laugh things off. I couldn't do that with that one. So given I wasn't able to do that, I honestly believe this was the most honorable thing to do. Because I didn't strike back at him. So you're going to learn how to do this. You do your commandments 3 times a day, you bridge, watch the videos, read the book, The Teachings of Honor. You'll see yourself moving quickly. Because I've been doing this a long time, and I'm totally committed to this path. You have to be committed to do it all your life. But you pay a price. If I would have just yelled out, well, who the hell do you think you are? If I had done that, I probably would have felt better right away. He wouldn't know what I'm talking about because he didn't know he was doing it. But I would have felt better right then. What the heck with you? I don't even want to be friends with you anymore. That would have felt better. I didn't do that. I didn't cover up the vulnerability. So I went to the vulnerability, and so some kind of heavy feeling stayed with me for 6 days. I still was having a good life, enjoying being my wife and family and seeing all our wonderful people, my patients. But I would come back to, when I think about Tommy, I was getting that feeling. And then I kept with me, I would get glimpses. I would carry a paper like this. Keep these kind of papers. And I write down, he didn't mean it. I was dealing with the vulnerability. And I write down little things. So I get little snippets of going beyond the heavy feeling. I would get little glimpses. I'd write them down. So then when I put together that text, it was a beautiful text. I consider that a masterpiece. It's a good prototype for all of you. But you do pay a price. Striking out, lashing out, you feel momentarily better, but you destroy relationships. Then he'd have to carry out that pain of what I said to him. And he would go, what the heck did I do? So we didn't go there. We're still friends. Yeah. Good, very good. I'm proud of you, though, Brian, the fact that you recognize what you're doing. That gives a very good chance you're going to go beyond it. Very good. And do your deep breathing 4 times an hour. Calms down the sympathetic nervous system. Excellent.
Thank you, Doctor.
You're most welcome, Brian. Thank you.
Do you think your friend did it with evil intent?
Well, he was asking, did he do it with evil intent? Definitely not. He didn't mean it. There was no evil intent. It was unintentional. As I say, he doesn't know he's doing it. No evil intent at all. None whatsoever.
If you don't think he did it with evil intent, does that change your reaction?
Not at all. Not at all. He has an unconscious sense of superiority. Absolutely, he took a superior thing, a condescending tone. What it enabled me to do is to say to him, I know you didn't intend it. You didn't know what was happening. I was able to then let him know that I knew it was not intentional. And that make it easier for him to hear it and not feel defensive without hurting him. If I say, well, you're a no good guy. You have bad intentions. You do this to people. You're not the good guy you think you are. He would have gone, wow. He would have been clobbered over the head. But he didn't have that. But still, he's not able, and you'll see from his text, he's not able to see what he does. Why couldn't he see what he does? Because he thinks he's above it. It doesn't fit with his self-concept.
If he didn't do it with evil intent, did he just happen to land on an area that you're sensitive to?
Now, the question is, if he didn't do it with evil intent, did he just land on an area I'm sensitive to? You see, I gave him the option. I said, you could just say I'm overly sensitive and overreactive. You can go there. Or you can look at yourself. Now, at 83 years of age, I know it's just not my sensitivity. I know what was coming from him. No doubt about it. I also know he didn't intend it. There's no question it was coming from an attitude that he has. No doubt in my mind. When I was younger, I wouldn't have known. Now I saw it. It's condescending, this air of superiority. And it was just a blip. It was like smile, smile, nice, nice, nice. Boom, boom, boom. Smile, smile, nice, nice, nice. So a lot of times somebody will go, boom, will just hit me. And you almost feel it's inappropriate to address it because he's being so nice now. No, I know what he's doing. I can't be fooled by that anymore. Not at all.
So what did the bum do?
Well, he took a very condescending. He's asking what did he do? He was condescending, arrogant, and demeaning. But that was on his end. My end was I felt humiliated, and that sense of humiliation is hard to take for any of us. Again, if I could have just laughed it off, oh, okay, come on, Tommy, get off your high horse. That would have been okay, but I wasn't there. It was just, I felt like, whoa. So I dealt with it. So that I said something at the time, but then I put a text. I crafted this text, which I consider a masterpiece. Absolutely. And there was no sting in it. No sting in it whatsoever. There was no sense of superiority in what I said to him. I'm not saying, hey, you're a lowlife. I would never do it. I'm above it. But you're a lowlife and you're that way. I didn't do that. I said, I've done it myself. The only challenge I gave him was a little bit of a stick. I said, but I'm fortunate enough to see what I've done, and I correct it. So I'm really going, are you fortunate enough? Will you be able to see it? A challenge and a little bit of a dig with that. Not much. Are you going to be able to see what you've done? If you search yourself, because he likes to, we talk about consciousness, a lot about conversations about consciousness. Very deep guy. Again, I want to say he's a wonderful human being, very honorable, and a good guy. But he has that attitude, and he's got a concept of himself that he's above this stuff. And He's really not. Nobody is.
How many of us are possibly doing the same thing to others and not knowing it?
Well, the question is, how many of us are doing the same thing to others and not knowing about it? I think anybody who thinks they're above it won't see it. Somebody might say, you know what? I'm a very religious person. I'm a good whatever. Good Christian, good Muslim, good Jew, good Baha'i, whatever. I'm good. Therefore, I don't do that. Okay, there it is, the conflict. Therefore, I wouldn't do that. Because I believe in God, or I believe in being good to people. That's me. So now when a guy does it, he can't see it. Doesn't fit in with that concept. Me, I'm a really good guy. I'm a decent guy. But I know I've got a lower nature. And everything human that goes on with anybody, that goes on with me, I know that. And I embrace it. But I don't let it rule me. But once you're in denial of that, that stuff just pops out. So anybody who just identifies it, just says, I'm only this, I'm above this, you won't see it. You absolutely won't see it. Just, that's how it goes. Absolutely can't see it. And you'll see from his response, which was a beautiful response in other ways, he couldn't see it. Good questions, Hugh. Excellent.
You know, isn't it true that every person who looks at themselves realistically sees they have a dark side that they suppress?
The question is, does everybody see they have a dark side they suppress? No. It's so blocked. It's so dissonant with saying, I'm this, I'm above this, I'm a believer, I'm this thing, therefore I don't have that. You have that because you're not saved. I'm saved, I don't have it. Many people are in that and therefore cannot ever see that. Just can't see it. The best you'll hear from them is they'll say, we're all sinners. So they talk about in the abstract, we're all sinners, but do they ever sin? No. We're all sinners. So it's a concept. No. No, honestly, don't see it.
That's a denial of reality.
Denial of the lower nature, which is there. Denial of lower nature. And it's pretty common. But some people like Brian sees it in himself. That's special. You have a good chance of doing something with it. Somebody else, no. Who else would like to ask a question or make a comment?
Hi, Dr. Nerenberg.
Who's speaking?
Hi, it's Jan.
Jan?
Yes.
Hi, Jan. Please speak. Hi.
So, with you and your friend, you said that you have been friends for about 50 years or so.
Over 50, yeah.
So my best friend and I have been best friends for more than 30 years. Our our own personal family dynamic plays a significant role also in our friendship. I'm the youngest of two girls. She's the oldest of two girls. So when we talk, there's a lot of sisterly love there. There's a lot of bickering. There's a lot of nitpicking on each other. It's kind of our love language for the most part. We know that we're joking, but of course, on the
no, wait a minute. That's the key thing you just said. We know that we're joking. Guys have that too. A good friend, you call each other things, he calls you something, but you know you're joking. There was no sign of joking in what he was doing. None at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with us. For the most part, we know that we're joking, but on the off chance we're kind of playing our same game and one of us is having a bad day, then we do get offended. I know that there was one instance where we were at a party with a lot of our old, our old friends from when we were growing up, and the bickering kind of started to come at play, and it was all in love, it was all joking, but of course we're getting egged on by friends who have watched us grow up, and then it started escalating. And we're at some point we kind of lost sight of where the joking had stopped.
Did you feel humiliated? Did you get to feel humiliated after it reached that point?
Because the jabs started getting deeper and personal things started coming out. I think we both did. We both did it. We both did it, and we were.
So you just laughed. So you just laughed about it. That's a good thing. Laughing about it is a good thing. Yeah.
But what ended up happening at that party was you can see that our interaction was starting to get very curt with each other. What ended up happening was the next day we had this plan to have lunch, and it was very short. We were very short with each other. And then ultimately, one of us, I forget who, brought up the party. And it came down to, yes, we both took it too far. We both acknowledged we took it too far. It was probably one of the worst interactions we've had with each other. It was just, I think, just, mob mentality got to us also.
And what made it more humiliating is other people saw it.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. And other people who have known us since we were very young. But what we make a point to do is when we get into our little arguments and things like that, or just like picking on each other, what we've done for the last, I would say maybe the last 10 years or so, is we kind of do like our own personal debrief. Like, hey, we're joking, right? Like, are we okay?
Well, let me ask you a question, Jen. Let me ask you a question, Jen. When you both had that lunch and you got to talk about what happened, did you take responsibility for saying, yeah, I know I went too far? And did she take responsibility for saying, yeah, I know I went too far? Did that happen or not?
It did after, I can't remember because this was quite some time ago. It did after one of us admitted that a certain statement was just too deep, too personal of a statement to be brought up in front of everybody. Yeah. And from there, then
let me ask you, did you each apologize for what you know you did?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, that's a good thing. You acknowledge what you did, you saw it, and you apologize for it. That's good. Well, you're going to see what Tommy wrote. It's good, but you'll see it's not quite as good as that. Yeah. Very good, Jan. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. That's yeah. When everyone knows you, when you both know you're joking, and you'll see he kind of brings that up a little bit and he uses it in a way that, well, you'll see. Yeah. Thank you, Jan. Thank you very much. Anybody else have anything you want to ask or say?
Dr. Bill.
Hey, there you go. Good to see you.
How you doing?
Good to see you, Bill.
Lots of times, people with those type of overbearing attitudes, they like to say things to people when it's around the audience and what they call grandstanding. Or if somebody close by can hear their conversation, they just want to bring out a point that I can talk any way I want to with no respect or no regard to any other people. And that's probably what happened. It might have just been a grandstanding moment. And that's
You're talking about a grandstanding moment with Jan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, with Tom.
Well, with me, it didn't because it was just the two of us.
No, I'm saying, but he might, you were standing with each other?
No, we were on the phone, on FaceTime, just talking to each other, just the two of us.
And that's what I'm saying. Somebody could have been in the background.
No, there was nobody. There was nobody there. But people do that. Oh yeah, people do that all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, that wasn't our dynamic, and it wasn't Jan's dynamic because they were both doing it, and it just got carried away and getting too deep and too personal. But yeah, with us, no, there was nobody else there, and he's done it, like I said, 5-6 times over the last year and a half. But that grandstanding, that's a whole other one. That's exactly right, Bill. That happens when people do that. Definitely, I know that for a fact. Good point, Bill. Good point. Anybody else have anything you want to ask or say?
Hello, Dr. Nerenberg. It's Adora.
Adora.
It seems like as far as like those relationships, and thanks for sharing what you shared with your friend as far as like 50 plus years. And when you mentioned about people of faith, I'm a child of 2 part-time pastors, so you can imagine the sense of judgment and like a lot of things that goes on in the household. And they both definitely have narcissistic tendencies.
So each one thinks they think they're Christians. I take it, right?
Oh yeah, very hardcore.
Okay, Christian. So because I believe in Jesus and I'm saved, I wouldn't do something like that, and therefore they can't see when they're doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a common dynamic of all religions, not just Christian, any religion.
Oh yeah, most definitely. They're definitely one of the reasons I'm in therapy, and thank God for that. But one of the things, one of the commandments of I wish you well, really wrong to me because, yes, there were times like, I have been humiliated by them a lot of times, As I've grown older, I have, point them examples. They humiliate me more. And obviously, as someone is humiliating you, you want to go on the defensive instead of going on the vulnerabilities because they don't listen. And one of the best ways, to do that so that I don't say anything hurtful is to create those boundaries, but also call them out and create those boundaries of just like, you did this.
Now, let me say something to you.
Go ahead.
When you say I did this, their response, no, I didn't do it. If you say I feel humiliated, they can't say.
They said I did this because of this, or they'll say I didn't do it.
Or they justify it, or they didn't do it. Yeah.
Or they'll justify it.
Yeah.
Or they'll say I didn't do it. Right?
Here's the thing. If you say I feel humiliated by it, they can't say that didn't happen, and there's no way to justify you feeling humiliated. I'm not saying they're going to take responsibility, but if you stick to how you feel from it, it's a more respectful conversation and less likely to set off their defenses. People get very, very defensive around this stuff. Very defensive. You can't even talk to them.
Oh, yeah. Even if I pointed out and how humiliated I was, they don't see it that way.
What are they going to say? What are they going to say? Hey, you don't feel humiliated? That'd be a pretty hard thing to say to somebody. Well,
they'll say, sorry you feel that way, which is obviously not an apology.
Well, saying sorry you feel that way is better than hearing all their justifications and denials.
Yeah,
exactly. It's not the ultimate way, but it's better than that. Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry you feel that way. Well, that probably, in a lot of cases, that's the best you're going to get.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, just to put a long story short, because obviously it's long. Well, one of the things of how I found my way of my own version is I wish you well is creating those boundaries and just actually not talking to them because of how much you've exhausted yourself, like trying to repair a relationship.
Well, let's put it this way. Given it's your parents, it's a little tougher to just say, I don't want to see you again. But here's the thing. I kept using over the week where I was getting that heavy feeling, I wish you well. I kept using that because I would get these hurtful thoughts, hurtful feelings, and I go, I wish you well. And so I kept balancing my negative thoughts or negative feelings with I wish you well. And that really helped put a boundary around my own negativity. I wish you well. And so I agree with you. That's a powerful, I kept saying it to myself, and that helped me keep into dealing with it in a very exemplary manner that I did. But that was an important part. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's an important part of the process that I follow. Exactly.
Thank you, Doc.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. Anybody else have anything you want to ask or say? Who's speaking?
Can I say something? It's Jan. Can I say
Jan.
something to Adura?
Yeah.
So I grew up in a Catholic school. So, we encountered that a lot. My comeback, to a lot of people, they absolutely cannot stand when I say this, but when I explain the reason why I'm upset, and they said, oh, well, I didn't say anything, or whatever their rationale is, I always tell them, okay, I'll pray for you. And they absolutely cannot stand it.
Oh, I do that.
Well, that's weaponizing the lingo. I'll pray for you. Weaponizing it. That's a little bit of warfare, but it probably makes you feel better. They probably feel put down by it. They feel, well, you're going to pray for me means you're above me and I'm here and I need the prayers. So I didn't go there. I didn't do that. I didn't use any of those tricks. But it's understandable. It's understandable. But that's a warfare thing. You get this. Get one on top of they're putting me down, I'll get on top of them. That will make you feel better, and it should, absolutely for a while. But I don't use that. The path that I'm talking about is the path of honor, and it's not to teach a person a lesson or get back at them in any way. In any way, it's just really here's the vulnerability. My intention is to create a harmonious thing. I'm talking about this to protect our relationship. That's why I went into this. I wanted to protect the relationship. Because if I carry that with me, it's going to be hard to sit down and have a normal conversation with this in my heart. But that's a good point. I'm so glad you mentioned that. So glad. Anybody else have anything you want to ask or say?
Thank you, Jen.
Had a profound effect on you, didn't it?
Well, he's saying it had a profound effect on me. The effect it had is gone. Once I wrote that thing, the effect was gone. So the effect it was for 6 days, I had some heaviness with me on it. Went on with my life. It was just in the background. Wasn't destroying my life, but it was there. And once I sent my text, that text that I read to you, it was gone completely. That it was up to him what he was going to say. No matter what he said, I was okay. Now I'm going to read to you what he said. It says, "Hi, Arnie. Thanks for writing this. I respect your introspection and sharing it." So he's starting off, because he's a good guy, starting off with respect and thanking me. I'll respond and we will have a platform for discussion about ourselves and humans in general. That's how we are. We go from specific and then we generalize about humans. That's how we always talk with each other. The fact that you can count and identify 6 incidents means to me that these were very real and impactful for you. Yeah. So he's then validating that my experience is real. That's good. Now, this one's very unusual. I personally can't remember any incidents when I have been demeaned. He's 78 years old, never felt demeaned in his life. I'm saying there's not an awareness. His whole life, he never felt demeaned. So it probably means, or at least one possibility, that I may be less sensitive. Okay. Now, watch where that goes. I remember many years ago reading a book on success or business that used the analogy of the quarter horse and the thoroughbred. The quarter horse goes out into the environment and works a day in heat, cactus, and rattlesnakes. The thoroughbred is fine-tuned to race like no other can. The thoroughbred, the way the story went, could go out into the ranch and be surprised, frightened by a bunny rabbit running from behind a plant near the thoroughbred, and frighten it so that it may rear up, fall over, and break a leg. So I'm the thoroughbred that would jump up to the bunny, and he's the quarter horse that can just go handle things in the day-to-day things. So already he's going into something that is the opposite of what we want to be doing. The book was recommending that the reader be a quarter horse. In the business world, many take this advice and may be predisposed in this direction. So here he is. These things don't get to him. He's above it. Now, I find that a little pejorative, but so he already started with a good thing. He's going into this, which is a continuation of what I consider arrogant. After my company with partners merged with another company, we had 5 partners, too many. The fellow who acted like the CEO, he wasn't, was his personality, and old school. He couldn't do anything clerical or with computers. He would have Donna, our Orange County manager, do everything like that for him. It was a running joke that he was helpless in these areas as the world is moving into a new era. He was never bothered by us kidding him. In other words, he wasn't bothered. Why should you be, kind of? The partner that I was closest to will joke, taunt, and play around, and we would laugh a lot when we point out something about the situation or the other person that could seem harsh or offensive to some. We shared a laugh. This might be more typical of the business world or among easygoing equals. So in other words, I need thicker skin. It was totally inappropriate. Totally inappropriate. I'm the one that can kid around, go back and forth, but there was no sign that this was joking. We say that, hey, Joe, you got this thing, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, yeah, but you got that. And that kind of joking around, ribbing between guys, no problem. I've been there with many friends. That wasn't what was happening. So it was a wrong analogy. And it was saying, you got to toughen up. I sent him a text saying, hey, I had a business with 100 employees. I had plenty of tough conversations and dealt with it, was very successful in it. It really had nothing to, but I didn't address saying you're doing it again. I didn't say to him, hey, you're doing it again, or I didn't want to do that. But I'm taking it right. He's a thoroughbred. He can handle it, and I need to toughen up. That was the message. It's the exact thing, and he doesn't know he's doing it. Believe me, he doesn't know he's doing it. So in the context that I've seen value in the quarter horse approach, let me respond. So he's a quarter horse above this stuff. So he's above it. I'm not above it. He says, I apologize and certainly don't want to demean you. So that's a good thing. Then he goes on and says, I don't feel like I have demeaned you. He has no awareness at all. Not like he's lying. He can't see it. But I must recognize that what I have said or my manner hurt your feelings. So you're hurt. I'm not sure really that has anything to do with me or not. I have been puzzled, so he's puzzled about this, but also recognize and accept my style, behavior, or attitude could cause hurt feelings or even make another person feel demeaned. Recognize this possibility. Can't you imagine how it happened? If I was a quarter horse, it probably wouldn't happen. But I'm a thoroughbred. I can run fast, but I could fall over from any little thing. In my mind, I intentionally go out of my way to not cause another person to feel demeaned in interactions with me. I think he's a kind person, and I think he's an honorable man. So I believe he is. So in his mind, I go out of my way to do this. Therefore, the implication I didn't really do it to you, although you think I did it to you. I will say that I have to learn to be more sensitive, so he's going into general thing, and aware of others' feelings in more situations and in a wider variety of people to avoid setting off bad feelings in them. I need to expand my understanding and compassion with a larger vertical range of people. So he's recognizing that in an abstract, he needs to improve himself, but he has no idea what would have set me off because he's not that guy. So I appreciate your feedback. It opens the door for my better self-understanding. I'm not sure that it does. I don't know if he's got any understanding more of himself, but I will take this as a serious lesson to consider and seek to improve. Well, we'll see whether that's the case. I mean, we'll see. But overall, I think it was I felt good from his response. But to me, it was also a continuation of that same arrogance. But at the same time, there was a lot of sweetness in his letter, too. Given that the guy didn't do anything in his mind, I think he was being as good as he could be. It was a real good letter from a guy who didn't do anything wrong. It was a great letter for a guy who didn't do anything wrong. Sweet. So that's really what it comes down to. In other words, you're a thoroughbred. You're overreactive. I'm a quarter horse. These things don't bother me. But I'm going to try to improve myself. And I was going to prove himself. He didn't do anything wrong. But I'm okay. Because I took care of my end in a respectful, real manner. He didn't get super defensive or nasty. That's good, because I've seen people get really nasty around these things. Really nasty. I've seen people get 3 years old around these things. He went to about 12 years old around some of this. Well, in any case, we're still friends. I'm telling you this situation. Why am I sharing this with you? I'm sharing it with you because I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you. You've been humiliated in your life. You've been humiliated many times. And you will be again. People are going to put you down. And I'm giving you a prototype, a way that I consider to be worth emulating. The method that I use to do it. I'm very proud of what I did. I walked the walk. And I'm recommending that to you if you want to walk the way of honor. If you're sincere about walking the way of honor. Now, I'm going to open up any other comments or questions about.
Hey, Dr. Nerenberg, it's Bert.
Bert! Yeah,
Hey,
Bert, good to hear from you, Bert.
Hey, thanks for sharing and just being so open about the situation. For someone to say at that young age of 78 that he's never been humiliated, never been demeaned, then I have to think that it's hard to empathize or sympathize with someone who feels that way, right?
It's also hard to believe that never happened.
What happened?
It's hard to believe it never happened, and also hard to believe he could empathize with somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, and the analogy of the quarter horse and the thoroughbred, essentially just all to say that maybe you don't have tougher skin or you're handling it with fragility, or what have you. It shows a lot of emotional immaturity, and it seems really detached. It feels artificial, but just moving forward, how do you proceed like with the friendship?
Well, I only take so much of it, but I do value the friendship. And he's the kind of guy that can walk away from relationships pretty easily. Me, I tend to hang in there, try to work things out. We'll see where we go with it. I won't just say, hey, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. We'll just see how this thing goes. I mean, I may talk with him less often than once a week, whatever, but we'll see. What I'd really like to do, I am capable of laughing these things off when it happens. I really am. I'm hoping that God will allow me to see the humor if he does it again, so it's not going to be that serious. It's sort of like, oh, Jim. Jim's being Jim. I mean, Tommy is being Tommy. He can't help it. No big deal. I'd like to get to there myself. I'm not there yet, but I'd like to be. If I don't get there, it could affect whether the relationship continues. I mean, it could. And so be it. Yeah. But if I can laugh it off and get to the point where, it's just Tommy being Tommy. All right, Tommy, I got you, whatever. Come on. If I could do that. See, one of the laws of honor I use is, that's ridiculous, silly Willie. So I do the commandments of honor, the bridge, and I go, that's ridiculous, silly Willie. It's just kind of lighten up about myself, laugh at myself, lighten up about myself. And I'm capable of doing it, but I'm not there yet. But that's what I would like to see for my own growth with him.
Dr. Nerenberg.
Yes.
Hi, this is Joanne.
Joanne. Let me say,
Hi.
Bert, thank you so much for the input, Bert.
Sure. I'm just wondering, would you say that you rationalized his behavior up to this point until the point where it really got to you, and now?
No, I didn't rationalize it. No, I never rationalized it. I look at it this way. We all have our shortcomings. I have it. We all have shortcomings. Mm-hmm. If I waited for a perfect friend, I would have no friends. It's just a matter of whether I could endure it. But Bob Marley said something that was really great. He said, you'll suffer in all relationships, but some relationships are worth suffering for. Mm-hmm. So the question is, he worth suffering for? I mean, it's worth suffering with my wife. If my wife does something I don't like, whatever, she's worth suffering for. I'm married to her for 33 years. I'm not married to Tommy. We can go our own way and each be okay. So, I'm not rationalizing it. I'm just working with it.
Okay. I think at this point, the ball is in your court, and it's up to you to decide, based on whatever his behavior is at this point, when is enough?
Yeah. I'm not good. Now I'm glad you said that, Joanna. I'm not good at that. I'm not good at that particular boundary. I don't think enough's enough at this point. We'll say, you know what? Let's take a break. I'm not there. I could go there. But I stay in things pretty long. Mm-hmm. I'm that guy that doesn't quit. Mm-hmm. Is that a good thing? Bad thing? It's a good thing and a bad thing. That's how I am. But I do reach a point at sometimes where, okay, that's enough. I can reach that point, but I don't go there quickly.
Yeah. Sometimes go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
No, all I was going to say is sometimes when people don't know your tolerance level, they will exceed it,
Well, he knows. I brought this up before, and even when he's trying to deal with it, he was doing it again.
Yeah.
Not in a super bad way, but it was there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost like you often are hurt by these things. And it's like, at what point, as I said before, do you let that person know that enough is enough? Because a lot of times if we go back into a relationship, it's going to be the same thing over and over and over again, to the point where you may just toss honor to the winds and go off one day. I don't know.
Well, I'm capable of
it's
slipping.
hard for people
I could slip, and if I did,
Mhm.
I'd be pretty good at getting right back and correcting it.
Yeah.
And when is enough? Most people come to it's enough, and they stop before I do. I'll go the extra mile before I do that. 'Cause
Uh-huh.
I'm an extremely
Uh-huh.
loyal person, extremely loyal. So I have that attribute. I got that from my father, that loyalty. So I'll go the extra mile, but at a certain point will come up where I don't have to push myself to end it. I would just be a wall.
Yeah. No, I know it's hard. It's very difficult. It's a hard thing to do. I do understand that,
I'm sure you've dealt with this in your life as well.
Yes, I have. And I'll make it real brief. I had a friend, because I'm a very easygoing person. A lot of people, they're saying, will you mistake kindness for weakness? I had a friend that kind of put that to the test, and she would always make decisions. And I would kind of go along with everything, except we were going up to San Francisco. This was years ago. And I wanted to go and stop over at Palo Alto because I wanted to see the university up there and do some other things. And she had laid out the whole trip for us. Oh, well, we're going to go to San Francisco, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And before I knew it, there was no room to do the things that I wanted to do. So I think I just kind of, enough was enough. And I think I just kind of said, when am I going to do some of my things? And she was shocked. She had no idea. She thought she could just keep pounding, and there would be no reaction.
How did that go? How did that go?
So easy going.
No, that's good that you spoke up, but how did that go?
Well, I distanced myself from her over the years, and I would say that's pretty much the way it's been.
But you didn't totally just end it. You just distanced yourself.
I started, I distanced myself because it just got to the point where, I just couldn't take it any longer. That was, I finally realized for myself what my tolerance level was. And believe me, it took a lot. I'm the kind of person, I can go with someone forever and be okay with everything. And then if they keep pushing, because she was very controlling, I think there was no give and take.
Well,
and I just couldn't take any more.
So you don't feel a loss over this, do you?
No, because I can reach back and, we didn't part as enemies or anything. I just distanced myself. And then, of course, she moved farther out, way out, maybe about 30 minutes outside of Las Vegas. So, that was the reason not to physically keep up with the friendship, because she's out too far. But I never forgot that. And enough was enough for me. And I think my body wouldn't allow me to get back into that situation,
Well,
but you know what? She had a lot of respect for me after that.
Sometimes that's what it takes. What it takes. Thank you for sharing that, Joanna. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Sure.
Do you think this has created an awkwardness between you and Tommy?
Well, the question is, that it's created awkwardness between Tommy and me. It might create an awkwardness. He's going to maybe be a little more guarded, make sure he doesn't do it. Although I couldn't help himself. Even when he's trying to help rectify it, he was still doing it. So, but I think he's going to try. I've seen him before when it came to certain areas about computers and whatnot, and he wanted to talk to me about my role in that. I saw him being careful. So I might make him overly self-conscious, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how that goes. In the meantime, whatever happens in it, as long as I deal honorably with it, I'm good. Yeah, wherever it goes, we continue being friends. We don't continue. As long as I deal with everything, including the ending, in an honorable way, I'm good. Yeah, I won't just lash out at him or whatever. I can imagine say, it's not working out between us. And I'm feeling put down a lot. You feel there's nothing to do, and it put me down. I understand where you're coming from, but maybe we need a break. It could come to that.
Do you think you need to be specific about what you said to him?
Well, a lot of his tone of voice. Sometimes I point out the content of what he said. And he'll come back to that thing about they used to joke with each other back to, in the business thing. he's a quarter horse. He'd be with other quarter horses. He'll fall back on something like that. Nothing nasty. Nothing nasty. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's an honorable guy. Just doesn't have the emotional insight. He's aware of many other things in life and very bright guy. But this area, his emotional intelligence is not that good. But he's such a nice guy. Even when we're talking, it doesn't happen often. Like I said, maybe once every 3 or 4 months. Yeah, good. Anybody else have anything you want to ask or say?
Theo,
Dr. Nerenberg, it's Kat. Sorry, go ahead.
Theo, can you hear me? It's Jonathan.
Jonathan, good to hear from you, Sabrina.
You too, Theo. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I was just going to say very quickly, I totally understand where you're coming from. And I myself, I'm a very introverted person. So that being said, someone like myself tends to just kind of just be very passive with certain moments, especially dialogue. But there was a time where with family, I distanced myself for about 4 or 5 years, I should say, because there was so much chit chatting and just a lot of just things that sometimes our own families can be full of crap. And I was never the type to confront, but the fact that throughout my life, I've always been someone who is very self-driven, very motivated, and just someone who likes to just try to show action. People notice that, sooner or later, people notice.
Definitely, you're a man of action. You contemplate, you plan, and you jump in. I know you're that guy.
So when I distanced myself, there definitely was a moment of where my family realized an absence. They realized a very dark absence where my presence was clearly known. It was definitely felt, and I didn't have to do anything, and I definitely didn't feel the need to reach out. I was just the type of person that once I feel that someone did something wrong to me, I just cut them off, and maybe that wasn't the right way to do things, because it is now I understand that if something does bother you, maybe you should hint something to that person. And even then, after that, if they don't want to change, then okay, that's up to you to step away again. But you voiced it out. But during those times, I didn't know how to voice it out. But yet, maybe because they were my family, they reached out to me after 4 or 5 years. But that's just what I experienced.
And you responded. How did you respond to their reaching out?
Well, even then, just me being a stubborn bastard, I resisted a bit at first, because for me, it's hard to forgive. I'm not going to lie. For me, it's hard to forgive, but I've gotten better. I definitely am now.
Well, that's where I use I wish you well. You can't help having the resentment. You can't help that you didn't choose to be resentful. It's based on your genetics, family upbringing, societal norms. But that's where you balance it with the thought, I wish you well. I kept doing that with Tommy in my mind. I wish you well. So I kept some kind of a positiveness in the relationship while I was also having a lot of negativity going on.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And I do practice that now, where one can't force someone else to change. That's not the way it works, clearly. And you've taught me that all you can do is wish that person well. That person doesn't want to see what they're doing to you. That you can't do much about it. All you can do is just, like I said, try to reach out, maybe hint at them that, hey, well, you just a little bit out of line. And if they don't want to understand.
Now, if you say that's a little out of line, that's one thing. You can come that way, but that'll be like an attack for a lot of people. You say, hey, that's hurting my feelings. I feel humiliated by it. Let's see if we can do something with that. But once you tell somebody you're out of line, you're rude, this and that, maybe there's a time for that, for sure. But the intention has to be honorable. The intention has to be you saying it to protect the relationship. Not just protect yourself, protect the relationship, protect that person against himself so he gets to know himself. Like that thing that happened with me and Tommy, I gave him the opportunity to really look at himself. He wasn't able to see anything in himself that could have generated it. Well, okay, you had the opportunity. You can't see it. But telling them that they're doing something, that's what sets up defensiveness.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that point. And moreover, I think that someone like yourself, who's very noble and honorable and full of, experience, the fact that sometimes you know, in this case, again, I want to say distancing, if you kind of take a step back, they notice it sooner or later. They'll notice your missing presence. That's just a given. Sometimes they'll realize, hey, I haven't heard of him. I wonder what's going on with them. And that's just from what I've been through. Sometimes sooner or later, people will reach out to you because you've been MIA.
that was family at 3 or 4 years. That's pretty long distancing.
Yeah.
But now how did it work out? You're back with them or not?
Yeah. We spoke. We talked it all out. It's all great now, and now it's better than ever. To be honest, it's way better than ever. It's just all you have to do is just voice it out. That's all. I mean, that's what I did, and it worked. So.
Well, we'll see it with Tommy. Maybe it'll work too. Maybe he couldn't see it right away. Maybe in time he'll get a hold of it. Maybe he never will. But that's good that it did with your family. That's really, really good. That's really good.
Yeah, but anyways, I just wanted to share that, and you know, I hope that everything works out between you and your friend. I mean, it's a damn shame.
You know what? I'm really okay. Whatever happens, as long as I'm dealing honorably with it. If this thing ended tomorrow, I'm okay. No problem.
Right.
If it continues on another 20, 30 years, how long we're going to be here, that's great too. It's as long as I'm dealing honorably with it, I'm good.
Absolutely.
And that's what I wanted also. The other lesson I want to get across to, if you deal honorably with things, then you can let the chips fall where they may, because you did your part. Then it goes wherever it's going to go, no problem. If you don't deal honorably with it, you're co-creating it. You have some responsibility. If you want to walk the way I wanted to, correct it. I don't feel I have anything to correct. At this point, I could slip, and if I did slip, I'd apologize. I didn't strike out at him.
Right. I personally had a feeling things will work out eventually, sooner or later. With this, just we're living in a different time where people need each other now. So
we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
My best to you guys, and good
Thank
luck
you
with that deal.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. I appreciate the good
Absolutely.
wishes. Always.
Always to deal. Have a good night.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything you want to ask or say?
Hi, Dr. Nerenberg. It's Yasmin.
Yasmin, always good to hear from you, Yasmin.
Hi. So just kind of piggybacking on your situation, I had a friend. I still have a friend. Kind of what happened with you was more of like an alpha personality, always wanted to be number one and whatnot. So anyways, we were in college, and you're in college, you meet new people, and I found a new group of friends, and we just kind of had a falling out where I had to basically, like you did, stand up for yourself and just, say, hey, I want to explore. I want to meet new people. I want to, grow as a person. So we basically, ended the friendship there. And within, I don't know, a year or so, she actually came looking for me, saying that she missed me and that she apologized for how she acted. And so just my 2 cents to your situation is you guys have been friends for quite a long time. So I think that if it's a true friendship, it is salvageable, and, you guys will work it out. And I think that's what makes a friendship strong and everlasting, when you're able to talk about things. And it is uncomfortable at times to point things out, but those are the true friends.
Well, here's the thing. I felt he responded as best he could. He didn't ignore it.
Yeah.
I felt best he could did his part of it. And that's good. And I appreciate that. There were some parts of his communication to me that were a continuation of that arrogance, but he's doing the best he can. He really is. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that. And as long as I'm dealing with honorably, that's my only responsibility. It's not my responsibility to make this go on another 50 years, but it's my responsibility to deal with them honorably. And if we can do that, great. Like you say, it's been 50 years. You don't have too many relationships that go on for 50 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good point, Yasmin.
But just to add to that, now this is like on the personal side, but then for me in the corporate world, how do you talk to your superiors, your manager, upper management? And I was just kind of trying to think of, situations where I was put in a position where, yes, I've had to stand up for myself, but you stand up for yourself and you have to have like points, like this is why this and this and this. And then it takes it to a point of retaliation. And so, you know, you just start thinking, where is, how do you approach it?
Okay, good question. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
A lot of times in a work situation, it's very rare that you can be able to have the kind of conversation that I described. Very rare. It's possible. Mm-hmm. With some supervisors and managers, you can. Generally, you can't. You can do it, and then if there's retaliation or comes to whatever, then you deal with that. You may have to have an attorney if it escalates. If you feel there's retaliation, hostile work environment. But, you know, if somebody's married with a bunch of kids and a mortgage, if somebody spits on them, they got to say it's raining. They don't feel they have the luxury of even saying anything. They take it and go on. But most people, you have a right to be who you really are and to express as long as in a respectful, real manner. You have that right. And then if it escalates to retaliation, whatever, then you go a legal route. You get a good employment attorney and you make steps. That's all. And you may win the case, you may not win the case. But you don't want to be a doormat. When you walk the way of honor, you don't let yourself be a doormat. You just got to deal honorably with it. You stand up, you try to neutralize the damage. And if that doesn't go, and a lot of times it won't go, but sometimes it will. Sometimes it will.
Right.
And I would think it's best, if possible, to say something in a respectful manner. With all due respect, I'll have to say this to you, I have to say that to you. And it's good to put it in writing so that there's a paper trail in case there's something going on that's litigatable. Yeah, paper trail is a good way to do it.
Yep.
Emails. Yeah. Good point, Yasmin. Very good.
Bill again, Doc.
Hey, Bill.
One quick thing I learned over the years that my son had brought to our attention. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So at a certain point in time, you got to stand up and do what's right, regardless of the outcome.
I know you do that. I know you don't let people walk on you, Bill. And I think, you know, to allow yourself to be humiliated or demeaned in some way, you know, maybe first time it takes you off balance. Second time, at the latest, the third time, you go, hey.
You got to change it soon.
Something's got to change here. And then if it's an employment situation, it's best if it's documented. There's a paper trail about it. That's good. But I agree 100%. If I didn't say anything to him, I mean, I wouldn't even be able to talk to him without thinking about it.
You're not giving him a fair shot.
I want to give him a fair shot, and also everything be pretense, because I've got that thing going on. I'm pretending it's not happening. I'm not going to live that way with anybody.
Exactly. You got to speak up.
I have to. I mean, I'm 83 years old. I know I have a right to be who I am, as long as there's a respectful, real manner. I believe that. I believe you, every one of you has that right. As long as in a respectful, real manner, you have that right. And then you let the chips fall where they may from there.
Yep.
Good, Bill. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Well, it's been my pleasure, my privilege, and my enjoyment to be able to be here with you and have our dialogue and to present these ideas with the intention of really helping you in your life, dealing with your situations that have happened and are inevitably will happen again. I felt humiliated and dealt with it honorably. And my hope is you'll deal with it honorably. Good night, everyone.
The sea of destiny is in your deepest struggle. God's will and mine be one, and I wish you well. You are co-creator, respectfully real. There's a way in the valley that turns weakness to steel. We're known through all eternity. From strife we gain power, clothed in grace and love, disciples of honor. All the days of our lives refuse the way of shame. We wish nobody harm, have no one to blame. Your high calling will be done, and pure eyes now glow. In darkness crave the good, like waters from the desert flow. I pledge my love all the days of my life. I pledge my soul to all that is good. I pledge my heart to my brothers and sisters who I join in the light, leave a legacy of honor. We're known through all eternity. From strife we gain power, clothed in grace and love, disciples of honor. All the days of our lives refuse the way of shame. We wish nobody harm, have no one to blame. Your high calling will be done, and pure eyes now glow. In darkness crave the good, like waters from the desert flow.